The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, will own it, and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site. Do something different. Just
This week, Donald Trump announced that the United States would take control of the Gaza Strip, relocate its Palestinian residents, and redevelop the area to become the Riviera of the Middle East. This plan has obviously met with a great deal of backlash, including from within his own party, with many calling it an obvious call for ethnic cleansing, and running contrary both to international law and to his own administration's America First policy. Now, the Israeli far right is ecstatic. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz instructed the Israeli military to prepare plans for Palestinians to voluntarily leave Gaza in alignment with President Trump's proposal. The American far right is confused with figures like Josh Hawley and Rand Paul vocally expressing their opposition to the measure. Meanwhile, others like House Speaker Mike Johnson are actively supporting the idea. As for my part, I get the small comfort of being right. Once again. A year ago, I warned that a second Trump administration would be disastrous for Gazans. The illustration that I used was that replacing Biden with Trump would be akin to taking the fox out of the henhouse only to replace it with a wolf. To be clear, I hold Biden inexcusably responsible for helping to enable the genocide in Gaza, which is of course ongoing. I just kind of figured Trump was going to make his efforts look like child's play. And 2 weeks into the Trump administration, I may be right. To illustrate this, I talked about Jared Kushner, the guy that Trump put in charge of the Middle East peace process in his first administration. He brokered something called the Abraham Accords, which set in motion the peace process between the Arab states and Israel, and all but ensured the final betrayal of Palestinian statehood. He punctuated this betrayal by convincing President Trump to move the capital of Israel from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. But something else that I mentioned last year is that Kushner also drew up a proposal to try and buy out the Palestinians and convince them to abandon their claim to national statehood by offering to turn Gaza and the West Bank into an economic development zone, which naturally would be managed by the United States and Israel. A proposal that sounds suspiciously similar to what Trump just announced this week. Part of this 2019 proposal, which Kushner called the Peace to Prosperity Plan, required that Palestinians lay down their arms, stop resisting Israeli occupation, and withdraw any international legal actions against the United States and Israel. This was, of course, before the Biden administration helped reduce all of Gaza to rubble, paving the way for the first stage of Trump's economic development plan. The thing is that nobody seems to have asked the Palestinians how they feel about being ethnically cleansed from the remainder of their territory. And if the last 15 months have taught us anything, it's that the Palestinians will probably have a pretty strong message to send the world regarding precisely how they feel about such a proposal. Last year, I warned that as insane as it sounds, things will get worse for the Palestinians under Trump. I have a very uneasy feeling that with the shuttering of UNRWA in East Jerusalem and a massive uptick in settler violence, something really bad could be in the works for the West Bank, which prior to October 7th was the primary focus of Israeli settler colonialism. All this to say, if you thought that people were going to stop talking about Palestine just because there's a ceasefire, I have news for you. Ceasefire is just the beginning. The real conversation about Palestine's future starts now. I sincerely hope that what is happening in Palestine continues to dominate the headlines throughout 2025, because I'm just not sure people are ready for what is coming from Trump 2.0. If you would like to read my full reflection on Trump and Kushner's plan to colonize Gaza, you can do so right here.